This week on Africa Innovation and Technology, we are talking about cybersecurity. Hello, I am Paul Ndiho. Every week we strive to bring you in-depth discussions that inspire, empower, engage, and motivate young, emerging African entrepreneurs using new technology into action. The cyber threat is on the rise in Africa. Millions of people are susceptible to a range of online criminal activities, including financial fraud, drugs, human trafficking, and terrorism. Analysts say the fight against cybercrime requires a cohesive and coordinated approach because the potential for internet abuse in Africa is very high. According to the FBI, cybercrime has increased by over 400% since the coronavirus pandemic was declared over a year ago. Joining me to talk about cybercrime are two cybersecurity analysts. Adedoyin Adedeji, a tech entrepreneur based in Lagos, Nigeria, and Nebiyou Tilahun, a cybersecurity expert based in Washington, D.C. Gentlemen, a warm welcome to you both, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me today.
Right off the bat, let's start with you, Nebiyou. What is cybercrime?
In order to define cybercrime, we're going to have to start by defining cybersecurity. And cybersecurity is a branch of IT that specifically deals with anything that involves in computer usage, mismanagement, or misusage of computer or communication equipment. Cyber security or information security crime is an infringement or an attack on the three pillars of IT branch that deals with specific confidentiality, data availability, as well as data integrity in or in transit between corporate and private networks.
A lot of people say that when it comes to cybercrime, Nigeria is the heart of cyber criminals. I don't know if that's true, but there are a lot of people who say that Nigeria has taken the trophy when it comes to a lot of people attempting to be cyber criminals.
I totally won't agree with the general notion that Nigeria is one of the biggest cybercrime countries. What I can agree to is that there is a high prevalence of cybercrime in Nigeria. And I think one of the key things about, one of the key reasons why we've had issues over the years, particularly with the international community, is the capacity of government and law enforcement to look into a number of cyber crime related issues, because if you have to put it on the ranking, probably Nigeria is not even on the top 5. The reason why I say so is simply because most of the high profile cyber crime we have globally, hardly would you see Nigerians featuring on this list. You probably have Russians, you have Chinese, you have Americans, you have British. Okay, but then I think the difference between these countries and some of the crimes being committed in Nigeria is the law enforcement agencies in these countries go the extra mile to solve these cases and bring the perpetrators to book. Okay, but in Nigeria we have this. We don't have the legal framework yet. Our legal framework is not yet strong enough when it comes to technology to deal with some of this crime. So most of the time, most of the cases that get solved are cases that probably involved the FBI or the Interpol to get it resolved within the country. So in those kind of cases, we get external support, external help from law enforcement outside the country to help solve some of these cases. But internally, most of the time, we don't have, like for example, particularly within the Nigerian law enforcement agency, we don't have like a dedicated cyber security system. Majorly what we have is what we call the Economic Financial Crime Commission, which is majorly dealing with financial crime. and they have a arm that investigates cybercrime and all that. So, but then there's still a need for a bigger and more robust legislation and legal framework to deal with this. So I think that's problem of the areas where I would say Nigeria seems to not be doing enough when it comes to curbing cybercrime in the country.
Why has there been a surge of cybercrime, at least this last year, when a lot of people, I think, are at home? There seems to be a surge in cyber-related crimes. When we talk about cybercrime, an increase in cybercrime, what do we mean exactly?
The crime level in general, the cybersecurity threats coming from not necessarily just only Nigeria, but in general in African countries. You'll see that the biggest challenge most African countries have is around the legal framework. It really is, it's not up to scratch. If you look at the standards that are implemented on most Western countries, like the PCI DSS and ISO 27001, these are the legal frameworks that are available for computer usage and dealing with cybercrime. And a lot of countries in Africa do not have this kind of framework implemented in their own law enforcement infrastructure. To give you an example, Nigeria is actually one of the very small number of countries that implement or at least have some kind of law enacted to deal with cybercrime. It's only 11 African countries in general. About 30 countries out of 52 do not have any law that governs cybersecurity. A lot of attacks happening in a lot of African countries, which obviously use computer networks, but a lot of countries in Africa don't report it or at least take it seriously enough to deal with cybercrime in general. So I'm not surprised that the vast majority of, I think it's estimated 4 out of 10 high crime perpetrating countries in the world, 4 of them are in Africa. And it just tells you the level of issues. It's not just the technology that we need to deal with, but also taking it seriously in terms of how to deal with it through law enforcement method. And we don't have that in general in Africa.
You talked about the lack of a rigor framework. That's what's leading to a lot of these cyber crimes. But take, for example, here in the United States, in Europe, and all these Western countries, they've in a way come up with a legal framework. Here in the United States, the FBI is aggressively trying to track down these people who are committing these crimes. But that has not stopped cyber criminals from attempting to disrupt the government networks, the government system, the financial industry.
No matter the level of law enforcement you put in place, there would always be criminals. That's one thing you have to understand. But then what makes your system work is the sense for justice. If there is justice, if people know that, I've watched, I think that was the time I was watching this FBI series, the FBI Files, and one of the things I learned is that even if you commit a crime 10, 20 years down the line, they will still continue to find it. They have cases they call cold cases. So even if it's 5 or 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, they will still continue to find answers until they're able to pinpoint who exactly did this crime. Okay, so it's that sense of justice that makes a whole lot of difference, because you know that one way or the other, someday, whether now or in future, the law will definitely always meet up with you. Okay, but then if people commit crime and they are very sure they will get away with the crime, then it gives them the audacity to commit more crime. But then we've seen a whole lot of people. Now, take for example, a lot of these hackers or probably cyber criminals that have been caught by the FBI that were eventually turned over, okay, to become what we call white hackers today. Imagine if those people were not caught. Now you can imagine the level of criminality in terms of cyber crime that America will be witnessing today. But some of the biggest hackers in the world today have been arrested. They've been jailed and probably released. And today they work with security companies. They work as white hackers today to even help catch other cyber criminals. So I think it's that process, it's that system that makes everything work out eventually, because you can't stop criminals from not committing crime. But then knowing that, okay, you would eventually get you one day, one way or the other, I think is what makes the whole difference.
If I heard you correctly, you said that when they catch some of these criminals, they use the very criminals to find other criminals. How ironic is that?
Yeah. So That's a very good point. And just to kind of address the questions directly, Paul, that you asked, why is it now that cybercrime is on the up? Why is it increasing? I think there's a number of factors. I think the first one is, as you know, technology in general is an evolving field, and things change all the time. And that means attackers are more and more finding ways to get into a corporate world. And usually in the past, whenever there is cybercrime, it usually is around a very intelligent kid from his mom's basement and trying to make a political statement or do something for fun. Right now, cybercrime is a way of living. It is a very big business for a lot of people. Criminal activities, terrorist organizations, they use cybercrime for monetary gain or to hijack or to blackmail a corporate environment or even governments. And right now, a lot of people are working from home. And what that means is that what used to be protected by a government firewall and network or corporate network is not available because we are working from home, which means is that we're not protecting ourselves as much as we used to while we work from home. We don't have the necessary security appliances and devices and system put in place. We just simply use our laptops, log on into corporate environments. So that exposes us a lot. It is easier to attack a person to a corporate world through their home computers than in a corporate environment where you're protected by a number of firewalls and a number of security systems. So as such, it is on the up. And mind you, cybersecurity, Paul, is a very young field. Only recently that a lot of countries, started taking it seriously, and they started putting a lot of places, as I say, legal frameworks and systems in place. In the US, I think it was the early 2000s where they ended up having a separate branch of government that deals with specific cybercrime. So it's a young field, and it's also a mysterious field. A lot of people do not really understand. They understand the computer crime part, but they don't really understand how attacks are perpetrated, how the technology works behind the scenes. And as such, even people who are in IT field, in my own field, people who have years of experience working with systems, they still don't understand exactly how attacks work.
From what I gather from both of you, it looks like no matter what we do, we just have to stay alert. These threats are not going to go away. People are aggressively trying to break into systems, but who are these guys who hack into systems and get out with murder?
Well, they are just regular people like us, you and I, that just choose to do this. I think everybody has a choice to do the right thing or the wrong thing. In everything, we always have a choice. And people have these skill sets, they have this capacity, but I think they chose to probably use it on the dark side, let me put it that way. And one of the key things is you can't really say this exactly who, because even some of the biggest hackers in the world, they are just regular people like you and I. Identify them by their digital footprints. Because no matter how good you are, no matter how much you try to cover your steps, one way or the other, people still make mistakes. Like in everything, we are all still human. No matter how skilled you are, no matter how much intelligent you are, we would always still make some mistakes. So I think one way to identify them is via their digital footprints, and I think that's one of the ways by which agencies like the FBI and Interpol have always been able to identify some of those people. Just by some of their small digital footprints, we can identify who they are, and when we get them, put them through a legal process to probably get justice for whatever they have done, and probably get punished or depending on or pay for whatever crimes they have committed. So, but then identifying them, not so much physically, but digitally, yes, it's possible. If we pay attention to probably what they are doing, we will definitely be able to get them.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome, Paul. Thank you
for having us.
Well, on that note, do you think you have a better idea? Or you have created something that everyone is talking about and you'd like to be featured on the show? Please send us your video clips and tell us which country you're from and how your innovation is impacting your community. Be sure to like us, subscribe, and watch this program every week on our Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you next week. For now, so long from Washington.